Excuse me. I know you guys are riding elephants, but I'm looking for the MXGP Samrang, I believe is the track. Samrang. You know, dirt bikes, Anybody? I don't even know why I'm bothering. These guys are probably like stupid American. Welcome back, subscribers. This is Johnny Hopper. I'm talking about round 12 of MotoGP. Wait, that's street bikes. MXGP.
Anara.
In Indonesia, Semarang.
Semarang.
Nope, that's not happening. Anyway, it's round 12. The track itself, the dirt, is clay-based. So what happens with clay? It gets really hard-packed and slippery. Kind of reminds me of some of the West Coast tracks here in the States where it doesn't get super rough, but you get a lot of real hard choppy bumps, and if they rip it real well, which they did, you'll get these real deep ruts, but everything will be real hard packed. So the track actually gets to be, I would say, more technical than like a sand track. And I know I'm probably gonna get some hate for that, but in the sand you can just rip it wide open. You don't have to be real worried about throttle control and that sort of thing. The track was so slippery because it looked like they were watering in between the motos and practice. So the track just looked like these guys were going down abnormally everywhere. Watching the other rounds, it didn't seem like we had this many accidents. Guys were just slipping out and guys hauling ass being wide open and then slamming on their brakes while it looked like their front ends were washing, their rear ends were washing off the lips of stuff. Looked like a very technical, slippery track where I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to run a little bit less air pressure in the tires to get a little bit more surface areas, some more grab on there. But then there's that caveat, you know, less air pressure with some of the big jumps, you're gonna pinch a tube or get a flat tire. But I know a lot of these guys run those tubeless tires, which is, I never liked the tubeless tires. I know in some of the off-road races I've done, they were a must, but they're really hard to get used to and you don't have as much feel as you do air. I've always liked air and I've been a cheap ass because those tubeless are like $1.50 each and they are a pain in the ass to change. So when it came to qualifying and time practice, speaking of the 250s, you know, the MX2 class, well, of course, Prado was out front. His best lap time was a 1:47, damn near flat. And Olsen on the Husqvarna was a 1:48.6, so he was a second and a half off. And there was only 21 riders that showed up for Asia in both classes. And then when it came to qualifying for the MX2 class, well, Prado ended up winning that race as well. And then in qualifying, the time practice, Febra was actually faster than Gajser with a 1:44.8, and Gajser was a 1:45, which was just 0.2, which really isn't much. And it's interesting that they were a couple seconds faster than the 250s because typically that doesn't happen. They're pretty close to around the same speed. And then when it came to the qualifying race, Gajser was third and Febra starting off really well. He ended up winning it. Prado, I might get some slack for saying this too. He reminds me of a younger James Stewart. Maybe not as out of control, but it looks like he's going to have a very bright future and he's going to be the superstar for years to come. I really would like to see what he could do over here in the States. I know in the motocross, he probably would wax everybody, but in supercross, something that they're not racing 24/7 or 365 like they do over in Europe, because here in America, the bread and butter is Supercross, and that's where people make the majority of their money. It's not the 3 months in the outdoor nationals. So it does make sense that there's been sort of a transition between the Europeans and the Americans as far as motocross speed goes, and I simply feel like it just boils down to these guys over in MXGP ride motocross 24/7. Here in America, we focus on Supercross. I do believe Prado, he's won 20 races this season in motos. Each moto's a race. He's won 10 straight motos. So he's won the last 5 rounds moto back-to-back. And this kid is just waxing everybody. He's not winning by a shit ton, but he's definitely putting himself in a good position early on and being smart about it, which is interesting to see from such a young kid. Typically, you see these kids that are just young and dumb, just wide open at whatever they could do to win. And if they're not winning, well, their self-worth is diminished, which sucks. But anyway, I really would like to see what he could do over in America. And that Moto 2 between Olsen, man, I saw a little bit different footage from a helmet cam, just getting hit in the rear and getting smashed frame first and just popped up endo. I'm glad he's okay, but he wasn't able to finish, which sucks. It probably had to do something with the bike being damaged. And moving on to the MXGP class, Tim Gajser, I'm going to relate him to like a Dungey, somebody that's sort of been on the back burners and somebody that you feel if everyone was competing wouldn't be straight up kicking everyone's ass, but is always that diesel mentality where he's going to be there for the long haul, somebody that you want to invest your money into, somebody that's going to get the job done and is going to be reliable. May he not have just sheer speed to beat everybody hands down, but does he have the mental fortitude and also just the racecraft to get it done, finishing, thirds and seconds and firsts? And he's won 15 races this year, so I can't say too much negative about him. I personally think if there were some other guys still racing, he might not be winning, but it is cool to see him going to win, and I'm going to say going to because I believe he's going to win the championship. And I really wanted to see Antonio Caroli win, but he got hurt, and that's just kind of how racing goes. So Gajser is on fire, and then also so are the Yamaha boys. Stewart, I think he would actually do really well in Supercross. I like his riding style. I think he flows really well on the bike, especially with some of his scrubs. And I think Febra would do really well over here in the States in Supercross too. But it's what is it to these guys to move over? I don't know necessarily what they're getting paid over in Europe. I know a little bit about what contracts look like here in the States, but nothing like over in Europe. And, Febra in that second moto, right there on the start, you could see how the rhythm of the track, you would turn this real long straightaway to this left-hander to these real slippery sort of double uphills, and he was on the inside, and you could see he instantly went from second to eighth, which kind of is a bummer, especially on the start, while his teammate was going wide and was able to sort of wheelie up the hill and still stay out front. So if you want to be a part of the sponsorship of giving away $1,000 to a 250 rider in need, the rules are, has to be a 250 rider, has to be a 3-digit number. We're looking for a privateer, somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of help. No factory teams, no semi-factory teams, no Rock River, things of that nature. And then you guys, the audience, in the comments will pick who the actual winner is. And I know Jeff Walker is on all your guys' mind. He actually sent me a message on Instagram, and I have to give it up to this individual because the showmanship is just superb. He actually wants to disqualify himself from this sponsorship because he's getting support elsewhere. And so I give it up for this individual. If you want to support him, please watch his videos and buy his t-shirts. I have spoke to him at the Lakewood National, my local national, and he's a real down-to-earth kid, and I wish him the best. So that's pretty cool of you, Jeff Walker. Anyway, guys, if you want to be a part of it, It's just on my YouTube page and in the description. Let's give away some money to a rider in need.